basically I kind of had two main things that I wanted to talk about. The first one was just tempo and rhythm overall. And the second one is shifting. So my thought was that generally your tempo needs to be more even. It was kind of changing and fluctuating all over the place. And in general, you can just take more time. It can be a little slower. But the main thing that's really important is that it's even, right? We don't want it to sound like you're just playing an etude with a metronome, right? But it needs to be very consistent. So think of it like the beat or the rhythm that you have is kind of like, I don't know, the structure, the frame of your house, right? And if you have beautiful paintings on the walls and you have beautiful dining room table, but the house is all kind of like collapsing in on itself because the frame isn't there, it doesn't make sense, right? Even though all the individual pieces are beautiful. So we need to make that bigger structure so that everything hangs together. Make sense? Okay, can we work on some of that first? So when I say a slow movement, I feel like we kind of have to reorient our thinking. So 16th notes are not fast notes, right? Usually 16th notes are fast. We think of those like fast notes, not in this movement. That's kind of like your normal singing melody, right? The 16th notes. 8th notes are slow, right? If we have maybe these 32nd notes, okay, maybe that's more of an ornament, right? So just have that in the back of your mind, and let's start again. Think of the framework of that house, the structure. It's always going. That rhythm stays the same. Good. Okay. Simple, steady. That was great. You get the idea. Okay. So you've probably heard this before from some teachers. Do you see all these little slur groupings, right? So the trick in this movement is Mozart. It's so broken up, right? The kind of can be plodding along, and we want to have a longer line, but we have to honor the markings he gave us. We have to do both at the same time. So what you need to try to accomplish is each of those little slur groupings of two notes is a slight decrescendo, right? The second note is going to be just so much less than the first. Da. You think of how you would sing that, right? It's not da 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 da. So that's the idea in each little slur grouping, but there's still that long line going, right? So see, there's still direction crescendo through all of it, but you have the little individual units. Can you try that again? Good, that's the idea. So what I would add to that is you kind of did da-dum, da-dum, the same on every one, which was nice. But what if that second note gets a little longer each time to make that line? Yeah, that's the idea. So as you go along, it should be more and more connected. We don't want it to be, too fragmented at all. Right? So you can practice it both ways. You can isolate those little intervals. You could also practice it the shape you want, and then put them together. Can we try that, where you slur 4, Not that you perform it this way, but to hear how it sounds. Yes. So now can we go back to the printed bowing with that in the back of your mind? Very nice. Yeah, that's the idea. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Okay. Continuing along with the rhythm and the tempo, can you go from maybe here, kind of that second time you hit? Nice. Very, very simple and makes total sense. Great. So, just really small, make sure you have enough bow on all of these crescendo notes. I feel that you're getting to the frog before the note is quite done. Right? So you're going to want to, anytime you have a long note like that or that, think of it kind of in an exponential way. So instead of, okay, there's 3/8 notes, like 1/3, 2/3, third, third. Think of it like half and half, right? So, makes sense? Then we connect into the next thing and crescendo. And it would be the same thing, same idea here. Can you go back to a minute? Good. Already so much better. So if we think about this really practically, these two 16ths here, what's going to happen if we try to use the whole bow to get to the tip on that? What's going to happen to them? They'll stick out, they'll be loud, or they'll be uneven, right? So how can we compensate so we could still get pretty much to the tip? What do we need to do here to adjust? Use more bow on each note evenly, and I'm thinking about how much weight is going to be in the bow. Lighter weight, right? Yeah, to compensate. And the same thing here, right? Lighter weight to compensate. You do it once more. That's right. Yeah, does that make sense? So lighter on those, and then you can really save the bow there, just like you did. Do you notice that when you have more bow to change your bow with the frog, it's so much smoother then too? So you're accomplishing two things. You get a better phrase with the dynamics, and your bow changes are so much smoother. So always think right before a bow change, give it a little extra speed so that it can turn the corner. Can you go, just do the same thing one more time. So just, let's talk a little bit about shifting, okay? So you want to be able to make a decision. Do I want the audience to hear this shift or do I not want them to hear this shift, right? What do you think about most of the shifts in here? Most of them you don't want to hear, right? Okay, so right now, you probably already know where the shifts are, right? I'm hearing the shift here, just a little bit here. This one we can hear kind of a lot, and down into that note, right? I don't think we need to hear those. They're not expressive, they're not adding to the music, it's just, you're trying to get to a new place. So we don't need to hear those. So, we want to make sure, first of all, that your bow and your left hand, so your two hands, are arriving at exactly the same time. And so you don't want your left hand to be a different speed. So you don't want, what's happening right now is your left hand's kind of already going there ahead of time and it's a little too slow. So then we hear it, right? So a good way to practice something like that, stop between them, right? So I stop, but then I prepare both hands. Does that make sense? Before you play. Go from here and put a stop before you play that. Okay, so this is really picky. Your bow got to the A string before your hand was in third position. Good. Good. Does that make sense? Okay. Can you do it from here? And I want you to stop there before you play that, there, and there. Good. So, how I want you to practice this one is I want your shifts to be as snappy as possible, even though you're playing lyrically with your bow. So. Right? Because those have to be as quick as you can, so we're going to eliminate all the extra noise. Okay. Try that again with the stops. Perfect. So then ideally you practice that like 10 times, but now can you play it as written? That was already so much better, right? And you only played it like 2 times. Yeah. So imagine if you practice it 10 times for a week, you'll be perfect, right? Yeah. Okay. Can we go on just a little further? And let's think again about the shifting stuff here. So just play a little further. Good. So this is an expressive one, right? That makes sense. Can you try this where you're shifting with your first finger and not with your fourth finger? So, does that make sense? So you would shift up to fourth position and then put your fourth finger down. That's the idea, yep. And then you can do it a little quicker. Nice. That's really tasteful. And so it's expressive, but it's really tasteful. Make sense? Good. Can you go from here one more time? keep going, you can keep going. Good. So this was the one I wanted to hear. What is your finger here? Okay, good. So when the shift is from the 3 to the 2, right? So you want to feel like your second finger is pretty much pushing that third finger out of the way. See that? Go just right there. Good. So again, make sure your shifts are really snappy, even though this is lyrical. Makes sense? One more time. Good. Okay, and the last thing is, you're doing third finger here, right? And then here again. Just think that this is still third position. You're just kind of extending. You're not shifting to a new position here. So that's just third position, and here's the shift. Okay. One more time. That's the idea. Yeah, you'll practice it. Great. Do you have any questions? Awesome. Beautiful job. So I have a question. There's all this 16th note stuff, right? And generally it's kind of off the string as a stroke. How do you spend most of your practice time on in terms of the 16th note practice?
Slow practice.
Slow
But
practice.
then I'm practicing like performing. I just run through.
Yeah. So my question, sorry, go ahead.
No, no.
Like, what do you do about the stroke if you're practicing it slow?
Still do the stroke. Just move lower.
Do you practice it on the string, off the string?
Off the string unless I'm working on the notes.
The notes. Okay, good. Let me try. So I think what might be helpful for you is that when you're practicing it slower, to just do a really, basically kind of just your standard détaché stroke. So that you're practicing like a really compact stroke with the bow, and of course working on the notes and everything slow. But then when you take that up to the faster tempo, that's the stroke that you actually want to feel like you're doing when it's fast, instead of, if you practice it, instead of really doing it off the string, if you try to you practice it like that, and then you try to go fast, your bow's gonna be like flying all over the place, right? And I don't know about you, but if I get nervous ever, my bow is like going 10 miles in the air, right?
Yeah.
Some people, if they get nervous, then it feels like their bow doesn't bounce at all. For me, it goes like way higher. So I know that, and then I practice keeping it closer to the string, because I know what my tendency is. So if that's helpful for you, for example, like this, how I might practice it is just, see that like a really gritty stroke, small amount of bow. That's how much bow we use when it's fast, right? But on the string. And then speed that up. Do a lot of medium tempos. And then when you try to play that fast, it kind of comes off by itself, right? So I would say work less about trying to bring it off and let the bow do the work for you. So let's pick you pick your favorite 16th passage. You can pick an easy one that you want to do, because I know some are wicked. Do you want to do that one? Okay. Let's do it under tempo, but with that in the string kind of gritty stroke. Good. Okay, we'll just stop now. Do you hear how there's like that click noise in your sound? That's great. I like that a lot. Keep that in there. To add to that though, when you go fast, you're not going to be out here, right? And also, you don't want your bow that close to the fingerboard. So balance point and pretty much like midway between bridge and fingerboard, I think, but definitely not over the fingerboard. Can you try that again? tempo now. Good. Make sure that your bow hair is really flat. I'm hearing the stick of your bow hitting a little bit to the side, so keep your bow really flat. And what I liked about what you did this time is that your hand was firmer in a good way. Not, it wasn't tense or something, but when you try to play off the string before, it's really floppy, so it's hard to control. Looks like you have more control right now. Can you do the same thing one more time? Keep your hair really flat. Good. You want to try that up to tempo? But thinking of that stroke fast.
Okay.
Right? Okay, let's stop for a sec. So, what happened? Do you know what happened?
No.
Okay.
Well, I don't know why it happened.
So, what happened with your bow? What did you do differently when you went from medium to fast?
Less pressure.
It just kind of started coming out of the string. It wasn't into the string as much. How about your right hand?
Floppy.
It was floppier. So can you keep it firm, not tense, just firm, and then keep your bow into the string even though you're going fast. That's the idea. That's how you should practice it. And then when you go at the right tempo, it'll kind of come off the string by itself. Does that make sense? So do lots of practice with that stroke, since you know your tendency might be to want to just come out of the string when it's under pressure, which is fine. So then just counterbalance it, right? Okay. So the other thing that we want to talk about in the 16 notes is I'm sure you work slowly for intonation. Keep doing that, especially in all of these shifts, like because you play the same note twice. Unfortunately, it's obvious then, right?
Yeah.
Like we can't really hide. If we're playing the same note twice, we want to make sure. So I would practice these with stopping again, just like I told Mozart. Make sure you're playing the same exact intonation every time. Can you try? Just try that one. Nice. Good. Can you shift even faster in the break? So. Exactly. That's right. That's how I would practice all of these shifts. So how about from the B to the D, right? Oh, I was flat. So, right? Okay, so it's a little high. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, you hit it like 3 times in a row. That was great. And the same, like you know how to do all of
Right.
those. I would practice all of those, especially when you have to shift down. That's tricky. Let's practice with the. I want you to go from the to hit that C. Just
The two notes.
2 notes. Nice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's really the best way to just practice. Isolate all of those shifts, because those are the trickiest parts. Good. Okay, I want to go back to the cadenza for a minute. intonation in all of these is hard because you have all of those half steps. And you know about half steps and whole steps, right? Okay. What happens to half steps when we play fast or when we play under pressure? Do you know? Like what? It's just a tendency of violin.
Don't hit.
Don't hit them.
Play it
Yeah.
further than it's supposed to.
Basically, the faster you go, it gets wider and wider. It just kind of, our fingers are lazy,
Yeah.
right? And also our ears perceive it as being out of tune when we go faster. So we actually have to play them even closer so that to the audience it sounds correct when you go really fast. So like this, I would practice it. Make it as close as you can. It'll sound weird maybe. Right? All of those. But when you go really fast, it'll sound exactly in tune.
Okay.
Can you go just play this part slowly? Yeah? Good. Makes sense? Can you do it like a medium tempo now? Good. And up to tempo? Okay, good. So it needs more slow medium practice. The ones that's really tricky is that one. It's a really far stretch from C sharp to F natural. So make sure that the F natural is really low. And then here you have to jump the first finger, right? So those are the two to just be aware of, right? So this stretch from that's far. And then jump. You do it one more time? Medium. See, just being aware of it, it's already better, right?
Right.
Do you want to try it up to tempo one time?
Sure.
Good. So you hear it, but it's already better than before. Good. Okay, let me see. And just for your own practice on all this stuff, think of that same idea through all of that. You hear all of those half steps, right? And because it's so fast, our ears just start hearing it kind of like, I don't know, 3/4 steps, right? Instead of half or whole step. So we need it to be very tight. Let's see. Okay. Do you want to play just from here with the piano? Maybe we can do this much again. And just think about being a little closer to the string with all of your strokes. A little firmer with your right hand. Okay. Can you do the allegro section too?
Just from the top of the line up. Yeah. That's D, right? Oh, so that's
The right after, like the very beginning. Sorry. Okay, already it's so much better. It's always better the second time around, right? It's easier. So when you start going up high with all these APA, right, crazy stuff, if we think about just the physics of the violin, the string, see how much shorter the string is up here, right, versus up there, down there? So just be aware that that's going to make your bow bounce even higher out of the string, so you can compensate more.
Okay.
And all this stuff, I think you can use a lot of bow. This doesn't, see, there's not even dots on that part. Like, you can really play out beyond the string, lots of bow, and then we can do, like, I wouldn't worry about coming off the string in any of this stuff, especially then you. And I don't know what to do, but I won't play it. Just really open up the bow. You don't need to be stuck trying to play off the string or anything. Can we do one more time? Maybe from there? Is that a good place? Or from A? Wherever it is. From A, if that's good for you.
that is like I know it's like hard to like what goes next after this one. Yeah. So that but like very texting.
How about, yeah, technically or music?
A couple awkward shifts I found that are fast, but other than
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, it's straightforward, right? It's pretty straightforward. One thing that I was noticing, yeah, I think that's good that you mentioned there's a few awkward shifts, and the different patterns and how they change, which is tricky for memory. One thing that really stands out to me is bow division and how there's kind of awkward different slur groupings, right? It's like 3 and 1, and so then you don't want one note to stick out, or you run out of bow. Like a lot of these passages later, where you have to keep doing it for so long, kind of awkward. Kind of tricky to do that. So that was one thing I wanted to definitely touch on. Because with Bach, he writes, have you played any of like of his solo suites, or sorry, sonatas? Yeah, on violin, familiar with those? He writes so many compound melodies, right, where there's 2 different voices, or 3 or 4 different voices all going on at the same time. And we have one instrument, or at least with an orchestra or piano, to try and bring out all of those. So even if you look as early as here, right, here's a melody, we say, right? You see that, right? All those, the first notes of the slur, that's the line, right? And then this is kind of just the accompaniment. So we have to bring out those 2 voices with one person, right? Right? And using our bow differently can be really helpful for that. So first, let's do this one. So B, C, D, E, F. Super simple, but can you play it? They're all going to be on down bows, right? Da, 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 da. Play it how the line should sound. Make it sound like a beautiful melody with just those notes.
okay, just the
Just those. Good, and it always with the F.
okay.
Good, that's the idea, right? So there's direction through them. Right, it's going to the F. But now the challenge is, can you do that but they're all down notes? Yeah. Good. Can you make even more direction? Each one has a little more bow. Nice. That was a really nice shape. Do you hear on each note how it's like da, da? You know about the Doppler effect when cars, like if you're standing on the road and a car goes by, it's like that's called the Doppler effect. We don't want that in violin, right? Unless it's marked. So it should be like, imagine you're hitting the note on a piano.
Okay.
Dum, bum, bum. So it's like a mini diminuendo on each note.
Okay.
Can you try it again? Good, yeah, so it says B natural.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Good, so let's start with a little less bow. Good. So in order to not have the Doppler effect, then that means the fastest part of the note needs to be at the beginning.
Okay.
Can you try just one note? Do you hear it swelling just a tiny bit? There you go. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so faster. So,
Faster at the beginning. Your first one was great, and then it started swelling a little. That's the idea. Now, sorry to throw so many things at you, but do all of that, but I want to hear the line again. So start with less bow. Good. That's the idea. Okay, so now we're going to add in the other stuff really slowly. You hear that? Do it really slowly. Nice. Now, what I want to say about the bow division is that let's only use the upper half of the bow at the beginning. So the first time you get to the frog is here, okay? That's right. Use even less bow here. Don't go past the middle. Nice. Now do you hear how there's line and there's a direction to it? Let's pick another place that's similar. Some of these are trickier. Yeah, whichever one you want. Let's do that one.
Same with this.
So yeah, let's do it really under tempo, but we don't have a crescendo yet. So don't even think about going past the middle until after the crescendo starts. Try to keep all of that in the upper half. Okay? Nice. I like your crescendo. To me, all of these, da 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 da, too much bow. Okay. So on all of those are less important than the melody notes, right? So those should have a very small amount of bow. Think maybe 1 inch for all of those. That was so much better. That's the idea. And as you crescendo, I would love if you could add some vibrato on all of those, the melody notes. So. Something like that. Let's do it from here again, but you can go a little under tempo still. So you're still using too much bow. Let's really slow and sticky. Good, that's it. So you remember how I was saying in the Vinyavsky, all of the half steps need to be really close? It's the same in here, especially all of these. Just think of it right, the G sharp is right next to that A. Yeah. Yeah. So this one's tricky, right? Because it's a low fourth finger. Can you land on that note? So you're actually a little too low. There, yeah, that's C. Right, so then this one has to be a little higher too. There it is. Nice, nice. Good. So how I would practice this is with almost the same way I was talking about in Vinyavsky. So of course slowly, but I want you to be really into the string for everything when you're going slowly. On all of those notes, feel like you're carving the bow out, not pulling it super fast. Make sense? Can you do it extremely slow once with that? Use like half an inch of bow. Yeah. Good. That's how you should practice it. And then that will translate to being fast. Make sense? That's great. Okay. Let's see here. The spot I wanted to do. Could you play from there one time again? So you're using very fast bow all the time, and I did see you have big fast bows over here. I love that you're using so much bow, but make sure that it's not going out of the lane on the highway, right? So that we're still getting core to the sound and everything you do, and we're not losing the quality of it. So here, also, you have way more room for variation. You don't need to use whole bows when it's piano, right? Save that for when it's at the top of the crescendo. Okay. Then we have a lot more variation. So something even like that, right? That's more than that. So there's a little bit of variation. Can you do the same, please? Okay, good. So, do you hear how you're putting a space before that? Please? Okay. Is there a reason for that?
I don't know.
Just kind of something you're doing. I think that makes sense. Da 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 da. That's the phrase, right? So it should lead in with the bow. Right? Can you connect between those more? Okay, good. So this one was better. I still heard a space between those a little bit. But for this, you're using like the whole bow. Did you hear how those were different? Because I used more bow and less bow? Okay. So less bow here and then crescendo is more. Good, yeah. Okay. Now remember how we talked about the Doppler effect? Do you hear it on these? Da-dum, a little bit. Da-dum.
Okay.
So the first note is going to be more than the second. Da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? So the fastest part of the bow has to be the beginning.
Okay.
Just play those two notes. Good, and think of it like a mini diminuendo. Da-dum. Yeah, nice. And this one? Good. Now let's do it. I just want to hear just that much. Okay, so that time that note was more. And no space. Did you hear the space? Uh-huh. should be connected. Just thinking of the open strings, right? Go right into it. Yeah. Makes sense. Good. That's the feeling you want to have. So when you put your fingers down, then you change what you did with your bow. Yep. So then with all the notes, it would So I would really isolate these, just break it down to the open strings. So you're really practicing what to do with the bow. And think about connecting and then the fastest pull at the beginning. Let's just do that a few more times. Can you connect them? Bottom. So, no break between the notes. Yes, that's right. Exactly. Make sense? Okay. So there's a lot of places that you could apply that. But places like this, bottom, where the first note is always more aggressive. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Is there any other questions you had or places you want to go over?
Spot radio shift.
Oh, yes.
I feel like on the direction of the
So
those
you're
parts that
shifting.
awkward, like it's like in the middle of a slur.
Yeah, it is awkward. Yeah. So for that, so you're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. So it's kind of the same as what I said in the Mozart, which is you're on the C sharp, but your first finger should be ready to just push it out of the way. Good. That was good. And when you shift, you don't want to just do it with your hand. It needs to come from your elbow, from your arm. Okay. So to get rid of the shifting noise, right? Good. You have to make it really snappy. Nice. Don't ever let up on the bow. Only violin's playing arco in the lower half, violoncello is playing pizzicato, right? So when I'm just looking at the score, I think the effect he's trying to get is the violins need to kind of sound like pizzicatos, and the pizzicatos kind of need to sound like the violins playing arco, right? Does that make sense? So it's more or less the same kind of a sound that we're going for. So what does that mean in terms of what we're going to do? What would you guys have to do to make your parts sound like pizzicato? And what would you guys need to do to make them sound almost like arco notes? A little bit louder from you guys? I would agree. Yeah, I think we need more from the lower half. I think they were pretty short. I thought the length was very nice. One thing that I really like about pizzicatos, especially cello pizzicatos, is they can be so round, right? Like, play a nice C string pizzicato for us. Like a nice, loud one. You hear how it's still going, right? I really like that sound, and that's something that we can work on imitating as well. That ring, which is harder to get on violin than it is on the cello, C string, or viola. Okay, can we start with just the lower half first? I want to hear the pizzicatos. Yes, they should be louder, and I think we need more of that ringing quality to them. Here, I can count you off, so it'll be like 1, 2, ready, go. Good, okay. So then you stop playing pizzicato, right? Okay, so you open G here, or you just stop it here? Can you really use, when you're doing pizzicatos, this is for everybody, use kind of the fattest part of your finger so you get as much of the pad. Does that make sense? If you're just using this part up here, there's not really much there to make the sound. It sounds a little tinny, but if you can use the pad, right? Let's hear your first picks. Do you ever pitch with your middle finger, or 2 fingers, or your thumb? Do you want to try? You don't have to, it's just instrument. Good, you can still use your first finger, it's fine. How much ring can you get on that note? Good, I think you need to be, you're pitching up very high on the fingerboard, can it be a little bit lower? That's nice. Can I hear some of your pitches? Good, so you have to do them over and over again, right? Can we do the 2 here at the beginning again? 1, 2, 1, 2. Good. Can you try playing in 3rd position instead of using an open string? Remember to use the pad of your finger the whole time. Good. Nice. Good. Okay, let's hear the violins now. And in order to get the ring to those notes, think about when you play each note that it's not just, kind of a vertical note, but it's more of like a scoop. And this is just where you're hitting the string. So that each one has some follow through on either side of the note. Would 2 of you try that? sometimes they're together, other times separately. Those are really interesting. So bring all of those out. We want to hear the different stuff going on. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it with everyone. And in order to match them, you guys are going to need to bring up the volume as you're playing pizzicato. Maybe third position, or maybe it should be second position. So you can play those. It's a little tricky. I think the best fingering is if you can use a third finger on that. And then on here, it would shift back to first position. So it's like. Does that make sense? That goes to E, right? There you go, yeah. Think of this like your solo. I know we're all, piano and stuff, and it seems kind of boring, but this is a really beautiful counter melody. You can bring that out. Can we do the beginning again? So, since you're the only one playing this out of the whole time and then on that part, I think the bowing that they're all doing is. You guys are all doing that, right? Yeah, so you're adding an extra note in there. I think that's why it was confusing. There you go. Exactly, yeah. And if this is too long to hold this bow, you could change bows here. You could split that if you need more bow. Okay, one more time from the beginning. Yes. We don't ever want to hit the last note. Dum, bum, 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 bum. That doesn't make sense, right? Bum, 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 bum. So be really careful. There's no accent on that last note. Can we do the repeat and then go on? So play like it's the second time and then go on. Piano is actually louder, right? So in this movement, do we have dynamics that are louder than piano? Or is that pretty soft? Good. So just make sure that you all connect there. You can write eyeglasses in your music, whatever you need, but that you're all starting that section together because it's so different. You're all unified, and then it breaks off again, right? And I know it's not written in the music, but you can do a little bit of shaping with the dynamics. A little bit. Like it's within piano still, right? But you can start it less. You do a tiny bit of crescendo, and then it's like just kind of goes away, right? I like the second option here. It's cool. Let's go from A. Good. So right there again, you don't want to hit that last note at all. So it's really tricky because you're already pianissimo, and then it has to be basically nothing. So say that the pianissimo 4 measures before B. If it needs to be, pianissimo plus, just so that you can diminuendo enough, that's okay. Just start a tiny bit more, still very soft, but then it fades to nothing. Let's do A one more time. Nice. I almost didn't hear it. Good. So have you guys worked on intonation in this passage at all? It's tricky. Have you done anything as a group or not? Yeah. How would you work on tuning something like this as a group? Go through each note. Go slowly. It's a good answer. It's a pretty good answer for most things. Yes, exactly. When you're tuning as a quartet or as an ensemble, do you know who needs to be the loudest in terms of the balance? Yes, yes. So basically, from the bass voice up, it's kind of gets less and less. Everyone needs to be playing into the cello sound. So you got to be super confident on where you're putting all the notes, and you're kind of the boss, and they all have to just do wherever you play the notes, they better match it. So can we try a little bit of that? Just one note at a time, and we really need to listen down to the cello and partially to the viola. She'll be matching him. But violins especially have to listen down to the lower voices. So let's just go one note at a time from A. Just play it, no tempo, so play the first note D. is if you guys have a tuner on your phone or just a tuner, check all of your strings individually. Make sure you're tuning all to the same A, 440, 442, whatever you're doing. And then you've all tuned with the tuner, then let's check our strings as a group. So everybody plays their A strings, everybody plays their D strings, C strings, E strings. And then you really know if something's off. You're like, what was that? We better retune. Can we do that right now? So let's hear all of the A strings. Okay, so let's hear first the cello. Okay, now add viola. Can you come up just a little bit? Add second. Okay, for now it's close enough. Can we hear the D? Okay, good. And the G? Can I hear just cello and viola ones? Move down a little bit. Okay, close enough. And C string? Down a little, yeah. Good. E strings? Good. Okay, good. So now let's go back to A and let's play that first note. Good. So you guys play twice as loud and you play slower. Good. Make sure you're listening to. Good. Now the F. Okay, let's stop for a second. So when we tune, you don't ever need to use vibrato. We just want to hear the notes. So just playing those notes, the pure pitches. Let's hear your F, because we're going to tune to you. I think that your F is a little sharp. Just a second. Good. Okay, now let's add you. A little higher. A little higher still. Good, add you. There we go. Now that's matching. Makes sense? Can we go back to the first note, the D? So this he has an open string. You can play open. Now F. There you go. Good. E flat. Okay, let's fill this one. So let's hear your E flat. Go a little higher. Good. Oh, a little too far. There it is. And then back to D. Good. Okay. Does that make sense? It's a lot of slow, tedious work, but as soon as you start doing one note at a time, isn't it like your ears, you're like, oh my goodness, I can hear this all of a sudden, right? It'll start getting faster and faster because you'll hear it, and you'll be able to adjust much more quickly. But it's worth it to do this under tempo and really get that in tune. Good. Okay, can we play just a little bit at B now before we have to wrap up? And you know why? It's because this part sounds kind of like a drone, bagpipe, something like that. So I think the open string is appropriate. It sounds cool. And then you can do that easily too. Great. So you guys are gonna play, you both have open strings. Can you use a really slow bow that's kind of close to the bridge, even though it's quiet? So it sounds like those bagpipes. That's the idea. And then when you start changing notes, I don't have your part, but you know when you start moving the notes, maybe that's where you're adding vibrato, using more bow speed. So it's a different sound color. Okay, and then in the violins, just be very careful that you're not accenting every beat. Da 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 da, right? This should just be kind of like fairies dancing or something, right? Da 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 da. Especially then when you start trading off. All of that part. Oh, sorry. Extra. It should sound like one person. Da 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 da. Let's do this whole section one more time, and then I think we're out of time. So from B. Nice, good. And how you do that is all of these, you know, the individual groups, make sure the last notes da 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 really short. Da 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 da. Don't play those too loud. Okay, you guys have any questions?